make sure everything works. Hey everybody, I'm checking things out. You're like, stop pretending you don't wear glasses. We all know you do. The gig is up, or the jig is up, right? Right? Okay. Honey, everything's good, baby. Everything's good. My husband's so... Okay, you guys. Oh! Yarnitarian. Life high on Flamin' Hot Cheetos and cheap American beer. Okay, so... Speaking of my husband, I just have to start with this because when he was there, he's very self-conscious. He's very shy. He actually says painfully shy. But he... I don't even know how... Okay, I'm just going to be totally straight with you. So what happened was... I went to bed before him. And then in the morning, I got... I keep hitting this thing. He knew I was going to. In the morning, because... You guys, my hobby is getting frisky with my husband. So, we got frisky. And then, you're like, what is this? You're going to understand why this is relevant. And then, I'm sitting and he's making me breakfast and I hadn't really, I wasn't, I was at my computer doing things and I hadn't really looked at him. And then he goes, okay, his head was like this. And he has really, really long dreads, really thick, long dreads. And his head was like this. And he goes, okay, I'm going to turn my face to you. And when I do, please don't be shocked. And, I honestly couldn't think of, because I've already, been intimate with him and everything. I can't think of what it is that I've missed. A person who, notices everything. I'm not kidding you. I notice everything. He turns and his entire face, it looks like somebody, it looks like he got in a bar fight and, his whole face, skin was completely missing on this part of his face. And his eye was swollen almost shut. You guys, I don't understand how I didn't notice that. In moments of passion. I'm not kidding you. I didn't notice. So anyway, this is what happened. You're like, what happened? So I went to bed before him the night before. We have, there are terracotta papers on our floors. You're like, we've heard this before. But I just, in case I haven't told somebody. And that's just like the terracotta pots that you have, to put your plants in. So they're hard. They're basically like cement, okay? And so, and we have a bar. That's our counter. And then, and then it's open, so the stove's right here so you can talk to people. So he said, I don't know what happened, but I woke up because he was sitting at the counter. He goes, I woke up and I felt water dripping on my face. He said, and I went like this and I looked at the floor because I was confused because I looked at the floor to get up. And he said, and there was blood all over the floor. He had fallen asleep at the counter, fell off of the stool onto his face, onto the floor, and it either knocked him out, or he didn't wake up, and then he got up and sat back at the bar and fell back asleep. So when I tell that story, me not noticing is not near as weird as him not being awake and realizing that he's basically wiped half of his face out on the concrete floor. It was actually really shocking. It was his face, and when I say bad, I mean really bad. So it's been now, so then I gave him some cortisone, which helped calm it down. It was bad, it was really bad, but I'm sure he has a concussion. He's had a headache every day since, and I said, you're just lucky it didn't hit your veneers. Of course, I always have to think of the way someone looks. You guys are like, that's not really germane, but it's been a week, and he's finally now looks, fairly normal, but I'm not, and you know what the worst part is? When he said it to me, I started laughing. Not because it was funny, but because I was like, how does someone not notice that? You guys, okay, anyway, so, hi you guys, Happy New Year. Well, hello, Miss Dahlia. Hi, Patty. Kristen, hello. And Barbara and Amber and Christine and Sandy's Glass Shack. Sweetie Farm. Is it Farms or Farm? I named it Farms. This is so funny because, obviously, because it's Namaste Farms, but it's not Farm. And it's not Farm because my husband goes, just put an S on the end. It always sounds better when there's more. Now you're like, well, you gave that a lot of thought, didn't you? No, I didn't. I have a head cold, did you notice? Okay, so I want to tell you something else that happened. I have to grab a Kleenex, you guys, because my nose is running. And this time it's running not because I've been snorting cocaine like normal, and not because of my allergies like other normal, but because I have a head cold. And I know I have paper towels here somewhere because there's nothing I don't have here. Could somebody please bring me some paper towels for God's sake? Or am I going to have to use my sleeve? And that's going to look really bad. I have a whole whole thing of paper towels in here. Hang on, you guys. You guys are like, this is really boring. Oh, I bet you I have it in this jacket because I wore this jacket out. Oh, you guys, I never go anywhere. I'm telling you, I wore this jacket out to not out on the farm, and then this other jacket, and of course, look. You guys, it rained last night. It rained, and when it rains here, it just floods. It's like a muddy, disgusting. It's a pigsty out there. It's a pigsty. Okay, you guys, this is so weird. Okay, I have to tell you this, and Happy New Year, everybody. You're a little late on that. This is so weird. Like, I don't know. You know how? Okay, I know that the world is actually. You know when people say, "Oh my gosh," you know, like the world's really actually a small place. Like, I mean, I've bumped into people when I was in Rome that I met in Indonesia when I was living in Hong Kong. Seriously. Is that nuts? Like I used to run, I was a long distance runner, and I ran every country I would go to, because when I was modeling, they would send me to other places. I lived in Hong Kong, but because Hong Kong's a big manufacturing place, they would often send me to other countries. Like what would happen is, let's say, like a company would want to do either, let's say, their print work there or commercial in Hong Kong, and then they would decide that they would want to fly me out to wherever it was, right? Anyway, so I was in Indonesia, and then I met this Italian guy. His name was Roberto, and anyway, it was super hot. He didn't speak English. It didn't matter. It was really hot. Anyway, and so I decided he was going to be my boyfriend while I was there for, like, I don't know, I can't even remember. I think it was 3 months. He had a store in Rome. So it was like then anyway. So of course then we're not going to be able to stay together because I'm going back to Hong Kong and he's going back to Rome. And Rome's, you guys, is huge. It's really huge. It's a big city. So anyway, and so then I go there because I'm working. Fly from Hong Kong to Rome like 2 years later, and I'm running by Cartier, the store Cartier. And I'm running, and as I'm running, I see this guy that I know, and I look and I go, Roberto? And he's like, Natalie. Is that insane? I mean, you guys, that is weird. Because it's just bizarre. So why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because I have this misophonia thing where I can't stand, I have fear of sounds. It's fear of sounds. And I swear, like, it didn't used to be I bite my nails. It didn't used to be that biting your nails was considered like OCD. It wasn't considered that. It wasn't in the DSM-4. It is now. I always thought that was weird. But anyway, so misophonia isn't either, which I also think is weird. Because a lot of people have it, like people eating behind me, or like repetitive sounds, or like loudspeakers. Sounds they can actually enrage me. Like completely enrage me and make me a crazy person. And so I have across the street from me is a really big, it's like a cutting horse ranch. And so sometimes they have shows and they have loudspeakers, which for the last 20 years has made me insane. And my best friend, one of my best friends actually runs it. And it after 10 years, like it killed I said, you and I over this, we're going to have a party in the ways. And we did. And so anyway, and it's against the county rules. It doesn't matter. It's just a long story. But you know, the county never knows what to do about it. Like it's not, you know, it's like Riverside has one of the strictest policies on like noise in the county, in this Riverside County. Like of all the counties in California, Riverside has a very, very strict ordinance against sound. And it's like, I can't remember what it is. It's basically, you cannot, if anything is in the county over a speaking voice, then it's too loud unless it's farm equipment or like livestock, right? So loudspeakers isn't one of them. And then our neighbors over here, they have greenhouses, and so they have like they're using machinery all the time, and they're not in agriculture. That it's not zoned for agriculture, so it's really bad what they do, and so it's making me crazy. So for 20 years, I've suffered. You're like, why are we? I'm going to get there, I promise. So, and you know the Airbnbs are hard for me, right? Because like I used to actually be able to have my home to myself, right? I didn't have to like clean people's toilets and like, you know, have people on my property that I didn't know. And now I'm kind of liking it, but there's other benefits. So this gal wants to stay here for 11 days, and she's coming from Washington. So she comes here. I'm bringing it home, baby. I'm bringing it home. And so we're outside talking, and I said something about sound, and she said, well, that's actually why I'm here. I live in Washington, but I am the Riverside noise. It's like she's a person that does all the noise readings for all projects and all buildings and all violations, like beyond what the code enforcement is. Like for the big, like she's like hooked up into like the beyond code, like it straight into getting people shut down. And she has all of the sound meters, and she goes, that's what I do. And she says, let me help you. She has her assistant ship her the whatever, I don't know what it's called. It's like a $7,000 machine. She sets it up and I'm telling you, like, it was like, if there is a God at that moment, I felt like there had to be. It's so bizarre. Is that like crazy? I said, well, I'm not going to get too excited until, actually something happens. She goes, oh no. She said, code, they never know what to do, because they do know what to do. Once they know what to do and they tell the person not to do it and they don't do it anymore, then they have to get legal involved. She's like, they just, and she said, they don't know how to get proof. She said, they're completely hopeless. She said, but I'm telling you, I can get it done. So anyway, it would be so great. My life would be so much better. Would it? I don't know. But then I'll just want to like focus on the fact that I've never won the lottery. You guys are like, did you really just, yeah, I really did just say that. I know. Okay. I'm really excited that I have some other things to talk about. You guys are like, we might not care. We might, you will. Okay, let's see if anybody has anything to say. Hi, Carol. Hi, Barb. Jenny Eddington. And then Sandy's saying, how can you sleep through that? I gotta tell you, okay, what I said, can we just agree right now? Because my husband, my favorite part is he goes, I don't know what happened. And I said, okay, like when you say that, as much as I love you, it's fairly obvious what happened. I mean, we don't have to be Sherlock Holmes. Because, I mean, you can just deduce, right? I'm just guessing, and he doesn't want to admit this, of course, none of us ever do, that alcohol probably had nothing to do with it. He's like, I only had like a couple glasses of wine and a beer, and I'm like, yes, but you do have extracurricular activities that make you very tired. But I think, when you're exhausted, and then you have a couple beers, and, he had one beer, and 2 glasses of wine, I don't know, and my husband's not a very big man. Although, you know what I was reading? I was reading, that people that, I would think that I believed that people with bigger body weights could handle their alcohol more because they had more mass, right? And I was reading that people that have a higher fat percentage have more difficulty handling their alcohol level. And I think it has something to do with the water in the fat cells or something. Anyway, I'm just telling you, you're like, actually, I think you have it backwards. It's possible I do. Shh. Let's just go with what I said, okay? Okay, I'm going to tell you one more thing. Wait, somebody might know this because I saw this now. I see, I got a hit, baby, I got a hit. It could be the other way. Okay. Oh, and then Nancy's saying the silver mohair washed up almost as beautifully as the accidental tease water. Well, that makes me feel good. And then Rebecca, I like the way you spell your name. I actually love the name Rebecca. Hi, Happy New Year, you guys. I don't know, to me, New Year and Christmas and everything is just another day. Isn't that sad? Like, that's what it's come to. It is. It just feels like every day is just another day because the animals still have to eat. I mean, they do. You still have to work. And I don't mean it like, because I love hard physical labor, so it's not that. Physical labor, my hands are particularly bad today. They actually do. I was, when I was grabbing all the stuff, my hands, they look like I'm 800 years old. But it's so rewarding and to be tired at the end of the day. And I think if everybody was tired at the end of the day, not from stress, like, computer work or like, that kind of stress, but when you're physically exhausted from physical labor, the end of the day feels good. And like, you honestly, I mean, you still care about, shit that's going on in your life that's, crappy, but, it's like easier to settle and just be like, you know what, I just don't care. I'm really serious about that. Like, I get really tired with it, working stuff and internet stuff and people problem stuff, but the physical labor, it's totally different. The way that I feel about it is completely different. I feel like, and I feel like when you're physically tired, you don't get little things don't bother you as much. So, anyway, I want to tell you this thing, and I would give you guys. I didn't print anything. I was in such a hurry because I had to get the giveaway stuff together. I had to get what's on my needles. Yes, there is something on my needles, and yes, it is going to be finished. And I did finish this week a hat, and I told people I would give them the pattern. So what does a quote, unquote pattern mean? It means I don't knit hats from a pattern. You're like, okay, so you're lying to us. I'm not lying to you. I'm going to give you the chart for the skulls and then explain how to do it. Because the hat pattern, okay, so I'm transitioning. Can we just say I'm transitioning right now? And I'm just going to give you a visual. We're transitioning to yarn something. Yarn. Okay. The thing is that I would never knit a swatch for a hat because, I mean, that's not true. I wouldn't say never, but for the most part, because most hats are fairly simple. They are. So there's a basic, you know, it depends on the needle size. It depends on how many hats that you've knit. But, you know, right? If you have a smaller needle, then you're going to have to cast on more. And if you have a bigger needle, you're going to have to cast on less. And so just based on that principle of, you know, knitting a ton of hats, and especially when you are a hand spinner and you spin a lot of bulky yarn, there's not a lot you can do with bulky yarn because it's heavy. So oddly enough, okay, so Christian, I bought $3,000 worth of yarn, undyed yarn, which is going to be at the sale. I'm doing a sale this week. And it's going to have a lot of fleece and lots of Teeswater fleeces, and I've got new fleeces too, and show fleeces. But the yarns is the big thing because I bought a whole bunch of different kinds and so a bunch from Europe also. But anyway, the point is that when you use the bulky yarn especially, things go so fast that the thought of going from, like, I don't know, let's say a 10 needle to like an aught needle is like mortifying. But when you start switching these needle sizes back and forth for things like that, it's so easy to figure out, you know, if I needed, you know, I don't know, if I needed 60 stitches, if I need to cast on 60 stitches for this hat in a size 10, then I would probably, you know, you could just figure it out. It's just pretty easy. So that's kind of what I do. As I'm casting it on, because hats normally aren't where they have to be, you know, it's not like a fitted shirt or something. Like, you can kind of look at it on the needles and go, okay, that's about right. Which you're thinking, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that is the stupidest way to ever do it. But actually, for hats, it's not. I would never knit a swatch for a hat. And then if I F the hat up for the first, if I like knit in the first 4 rows, it looked like it was way too big or way too small, I would go, well, there's my swatch, right? Because in the amount of time it took me to do that, it probably would have taken me to knit that swatch. Now I know I just need to take 10 out of it. You're like, this is not scientific. I know it's not. That's not what I do with other things. But it is what and the other thing I started doing, I don't know if you guys have ever done this. This actually was a problem. I had to rip stuff out. So I have ripped out this week. First, where's the hat? Did I drop it on the way over here? Hang on, let me see where it is. You guys are like, sure, you dropped. Oh, no, I didn't. No. So what I do, like, what I'll do is, especially for something really simple like this, so it's got skulls on it. You see? So what I do is, I know it's going to be like a beanie like this is going to be super easy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look for like some design that I want that's on a chart. And then I just go and I count the widest part, the amount of stitches that are at the widest part of the chart. Because if I go any narrower than that, I'm not going to be able to put them next to each other. They're going to bump into it. So I look at the widest part. How many stitches on these? It was 5. And then however many stitches I want in between each of them, and I add those together, and now I know that I'm going to have to do it in a multiple of that. Always it's going to be in a multiple of that. Otherwise, if I want them to be evenly spaced. And so the problem then comes, think about this, I need you to think about this. The problem then comes when I'm going to start decreasing. So yes, when I cast on, that makes sense. I'm going to cast on a multiple of that. The widest part of my design, plus how many is going to be in between it. But then as I start decreasing, what's going to happen? And so then what I do is I will subtract, obviously, some of the, I'll only decrease in the black, obviously, the black part. So then I have to, you know, also, as I'm knitting, I think about how many stitches I'm going to want in between each row. And then I actually don't get anal about it. If it ended up that I accidentally knit one too many rows, I really could care less because it's a hat. And it doesn't matter, right? But what I'll do is I will then, of course, subtract it and then try to divide if there's an odd number of stitches. Then I'll try to like somehow spread them out, you know, and like hide them in between some of the other designs. Like if I have like 4 stitches, you know, that haven't been, as I'm decreasing, haven't been decreased, then I'll try and, you know, make, instead of like 4 stitches between this one, it'll be 5 stitches in between another one, it'll be 5 stitches. No one's ever going to notice. It's a hat. And so then what I did is I did color work. I did color work on this, and then what some of these are alternating, and some of them are just from variegated yarn. And I also did what's called, some people call it a, I think they call it a shell stitch. Shell stitch. And then what I'm going to do, I actually went to put the pattern. You guys like the pattern and the shell stitch video, which obviously I did not do. There's like, it's kind of a video. I don't like the way she did hers on my website, but they like revamped my website for me, and they made, I can't even make the post. I can't even make a post on it. I don't recognize anything. I don't know how to do anything. I actually wrote Lenore, and I'm like, Lenore, I need your help. I thought someone was out there. It's my dogs. My dogs they all try to pile. They pre-pile, all 12 of them right in front of the store right here. I'm surprised no one's getting in a dog fight. But anyway, wait, let me see what someone's saying. I want to see if this, what I just said makes sense. You guys are like, no, actually it didn't. It's not helpful at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on Facebook.com/teaswatersheep. I'm going to put the chart, but you can do it with any chart. You don't have to do it with skulls. And I'm going to put a link to the video of the shell stitch. And then you just use any hat pattern you want. And don't do only, I do my hats in stockinette. So the other thing is that when you do the shell stitch, what I will tell you is that you guys are like, why are you telling us this now? Can't you just write it down? Yes, I can, but I'm just warning you. What happens is, every time that I've seen it, or someone else calls it the bud stitch, it's on garter stitch. So I'm doing this hat in stockinette. So everywhere that I was going to do, every place that I was going to do the shell stitch, I just did a purl stitch so that I would have the bump. Because I thought maybe there was some reason they wanted the bumps, and that's why it looked good. So I did a row down here in stockinette, and then I do a row stockinette. I do the purl stitch right where I'm going to do, I know that I'm going to be making my shell stitch. And then I go along stockinette, I do a purl stitch. And then I end up having that bump. Super easy. And the way that you end up getting these long, and I wish that I could like pan for you, but I can't. If my husband was here, he would do it. But the way that you get this pan, these like, it looks like it's like pieces of yarn, is that after you've knit more rows and you come in what I want to say it's like 6 or 7 rows, and you come back with this yarn that you're doing the shell stitch in, 3 stitches before you get to your purl stitch. 3 stitches before you get to your purl stitch, you start to bring a piece of yarn down in the back, and you grab it with a crochet hook and bring it up and put it on your needle. You knit the next stitch. You put your yarn behind it, you come in with inside where that purl stitch is, you grab it with a crochet hook, you bring it up, you put it on your needle, you knit the next stitch. That sounds like is not helpful what I just did, and let me just tell you, it is helpful. Because that is the most confusing thing for people, because they'll say the 3rd stitch and the 4th stitch and the 7th stitch, and you're just like, your head's starting to explode. But it's the 3rd stitch before your purl bump for me, because my entire thing is not garter. Oh, you want me to put it on? I knew you did. My hair is really messed up right now. It's so cute. I actually was making it for my husband at first, but his dreads are so thick. I mean, the hat would have to be huge. It's like how much knitting, and I wanted to do like in like an afternoon, and I did. I did it in an afternoon. You're like, okay, well that's not that impressive. Because I have other things to do, you guys. I don't have time to sit there and just knit. Although I am working on a project right now, which I'm going to show you in a little bit, and it's very cute. My hair's got static, thanks. Let me see what you guys are saying. Did any of that make sense? And then oh, Ms. Reed, are you serious? She's never knit a swatch. That's awesome. Hi, Claudia. Hi, Sharon. And then Carol saying that her mom worked in the town of Hempstead in charge of the noise abatement until she was 91. And when planes went over your home too loud, oh, you'd call her? Really? I'd love to call her. Hi. Okay. And then, okay, Rebecca's saying I'm right. Surprise! I'm just kidding, Rebecca. You are correct. People with less body tend to have higher metabolism, so can process intoxicants much faster than those with a little slower metabolism. Yes, and I thought it had something to do with the. Yeah, thank you. And I also, in addition, thought it had something to do with the fat, the way that the fat, because it's it's so globular and so. You're like, wow, that sounded really educated. You guys know, I'm telling you, I'm not just a dumb blonde. I'm more. You're like, wow. No, I am more. Okay, so I want to tell you this. Wait, let me make sure no one said anything else. You're like, don't pretend like you care. I do care. I care what you guys say because I love when you chat. You're like, where are your glasses? Here, hang on. Okay. So knitting in a half afternoon is impressive? No, it's not. But anyway, this other project is super cute. So I'm in the grocery store. Okay, so my friend Jenny, you guys remember? My friend Jenny, the one that, if you guys were here when I was talking with Kevin, if I wish that we were closer friends. I really do. I would love to share with you because I still get texts from him. The texts are, let me just tell you, I'm a down and dirty girl. I am, but I'm also in a committed relationship, a committed monogamous relationship. The stuff that he says, it actually, I almost can't repeat it. Like, I even to my girlfriend Jenny, and Jenny and I have been friends 30, I might have said, some days I might say 28, some days I might say 35, but we figured it out today. It's 30 years, a little over 30 years. So I've been my friend. And Jenny, and I'm like, Jenny, oh my God, can you believe it? And my face will be turning red, even though I have foundation on and you won't be able to see it, as I'm reading it. Like, it's that, and so, like, it's that unbelievable. And I think because he's a sex addict, seriously, that he does it as a manipulation, right? It's both wishful thinking and, it's possible that somebody would actually take him up on it, even though he himself is in a relationship. But his addiction, when he doesn't get what he wants, I think that he says these things that are so incredibly, they're really vulgar. They're tremendously vulgar. I don't mean that with shame and judgment. I mean that with, like, if it was my husband saying it to me, I wouldn't feel that way. But this is a person, that is a hay broker, and that is actually not being egged on at all. Like I say lol, I'll just say lol, or you're so funny, or I can't believe you just said that. These are and then the response that I get after that, it's really, so then I figured out, I think that it actually is a manipulation that he, before he was actually hoping that the banter would be, that it'd be reciprocal. And then I'm thinking, actually, I think he's doing it because anything that I say that isn't lol or you're so funny or hashtag monogamous, if he gets anything out of me, he's winning. Like it would be a win. Like even if I said, oh my God, I can't believe you said that, that would be a win. Do you see my point? Do you guys see my point? Because he's getting my attention. But if I just continue to blow it off, it's almost like because it's not shocking me. I'm not saying anything that's making him feel noticed. I'm just as if I'm doing something else and then I see the text and I go, oh, you're so funny, right? So I actually think I'm onto something. Anyway, moving on. Jenny, my friend, the one that I gave her number to Kevin, so now he writes her. I don't think he writes her quite the vulgar stuff he writes me. Anyway, so I'm in the grocery store, and this guy's behind me, he just starts talking to me. And he looks like a nice person. Well, so did Ted Bundy, by the way. He looks like a nice person. But anyway, he says something to me, and he's friendly. He's like a talker, right? And so I'm just in a good mood. Usually if my Fiorinol, I take Fiorinol for my headaches. When my Fiorinol kicks in, and if I'm really chatty, I know that it just kicked in. And I'm chatty. My Fiorinol just kicked in. And so I say, actually, you know what? And some of the things he said, though, were really emotionally intelligent, and I appreciated them. It was a long line. And I said to him, you know what? Are you single? Because I got to tell you, I think I have the girl for you. I know, now I feel like one of those, Jewish matchmaker women. Or some, Jenny's going to have to pay me for this. Just kidding. Anyway, I said to him, can I have your number? Which then I realized probably seemed like I was trying to hit on him. He's younger than I am. Anyway, but he gave me his number, and so I tell Jenny, I think, I met somebody, and I really think he would be a really good person for you to date. And she's just like, because she doesn't want to date anybody. She got out of a long-term relationship that didn't turn out so well. And she's like, yeah, no. And I'm like, tonight's the perfect night. Because he said, maybe maybe she wants to do something, and he said tonight. And I was like, tonight, New Year's Eve, which is, a little late notice, because it was New Year's Eve when it was like in the day, right? So then anyway, she doesn't really want to do it. And I said, you know what? And this is true, you guys. I want you to, this is like a take-home message here, is that you never know who's going to change your life. You just don't. Like every opportunity, when I don't want to do things, a lot of the time I think, because I am a person, I just want to stay home and get naked with my husband. Like literally, I don't care. If you ever see me somewhere and you want to you want to go somewhere, or you want me to, just know that secretly in the back of my mind, all I want to do is be home getting naked with my husband. But I still will do other things. You're like, wow, you and Kevin would make a great match now. Anyway. So, but it is true. You never know who you're going to meet that could change your life. Yeah, it could be a mistake, but you'll learn from it, right? So, opportunity is out there, and it's like this thing where, well, of course you're not going to win the lottery if you don't play it. And life is like a little bit like a lottery, like you actually have to participate, right? So anyway, actually, Jenny, and she could be a little stubborn. She's a little bit of a homebody. And but she said, oh, you know what? Okay, And they went out last night, and he is the nicest. You're like, tell me he's the nicest person after he rapes and murders her. But anyway, and he's very handy too. But anyway, so they went out last night, and this is what I loved about him. He actually called this morning and just offered to drop off, because he lives down the road from me, which I also thought was funny, to drop off Starbucks. That was so nice. Anyhow. And I said, Sean, actually, and this is not a lie. So when my husband and I started dating, the first time we went out, after the third, this should have been a warning sign for him not to marry me. By the way, he probably forgot about it. It was the third day, and he hadn't called me to say, okay, I think a man should call you the next day, after a date, and say, even if he's never going to see you again, just to say, thank you, and it could be it doesn't have to be like gushy or anything. If he doesn't want to see you anymore, he could just say, I want to, he could actually just be honest and say, I want to tell you thank you for going out with me last night. I really appreciate, you taking the time, and it was nice visiting with you. However, just want you to know, I don't really think we're a match, and that doesn't mean that we can't be friends. I mean, that to me is a reasonable thing. But I think people should call the next day. When men don't call the next day, it's really irritating to me. I don't have to worry about it anymore. I'm married. However, my husband didn't call me for 3 days. So what did I do? I called him. I was so pissed off. Each day that went by, I started to get more and more fuming. I think he took me out on a Monday, and I think by Thursday, I called and I said, okay. And so it called his office. He was a manager of his dad's racehorse ranch, and I said, can I please speak with Sean Redding? So he gets on the phone. He's like, hello, and I said, Sean, this is Natalie speaking. He's like, hey, how are you? Like, it's totally really happy that I'm calling. I said, well, actually, I'm really irritated. And then I completely ripped him a new one. I said, do you know how incredibly rude it is that you didn't call me? I said, if you don't want to see me anymore, that's one thing. I said, but then to say, oh, it's so great to talk to you. I said, you could do a person the courtesy of calling them. I said, do you know how rude that is? I freaking busted his balls hard. That's called the foreshadowing of your life. Welcome to the next 26 years, honey. Seriously, but I'm serious. It's so rude. So if men out there, or any men out there, I'm just letting you know, it's incredibly rude. It is really, and you know what, in this day and age, and I'm sure there's a lot of, whippersnappers that are like, well, women can call too. Bullshit, I'm old-fashioned, and I'm sorry. I am sorry. But I'm telling you right now. That's the other thing. So this is what I said to Jenny. You guys, this is awesome, and then I want to see what people are saying. But anyway, so Jenny's super generous, and I am generous too, and I actually feel really uncomfortable if I don't pick up the bill. So I do. I feel really uncomfortable. I want to pick up the bill always, and Jenny also wants to pick up the bill always. So what I'll do is if I know that technically for whatever reason, like let's say somebody because if you invite someone, that means you're paying. Somebody invites me, I'll still want to pick up the bill. But I'll tell them now, I'll just have to say, I want you to know it's killing me to not pick up the bill. Like, I really want to pay for the bill. But you invited me, and if I do, it's like grandstanding also. It's like not, you have to be a good receiver. You can't just be, because giving is in itself, I actually said this to someone the other day, giving is also, there is selfishness in giving, and they're like, yeah, I don't get that. And I was like, okay, I don't understand how you don't get this concept, because this is widely known. Then I had to explain it to him. But anyhow, so I said, Jenny, because she's going out with him tonight. Right now she's with him. I said, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're going to start dating him, do not touch that bill. Do not touch it. I said, and if it's going to be that hard for you, what you need to do is you need to do what I do, and just say, I'm telling you, I want to pick up that bill so bad, and I am going to pick up that bill if we're not going to date. If we're going to be friends, I'm going to pick up the bill. But it's old fashioned, and I don't have time to articulate the reason for this for people that don't understand, because I'd really have to go into a totally different mode. It'd have to go from more entertainment to like really a philosophical way of thinking, and something that would make sense. But I'm just going to say that despite the fact that, in the current age, a lot of demographics seem to think that men and women aren't different. We are different. And that's just the way it is. And when you have a baby, and you have to nurse it, and you can't do shit, then you'll understand, because it didn't hurt him at all. He doesn't have stitches in his hoo-ha. Bam! That's the best way to explain it. Hi, Penny. Didn't he leave that block him? Oh, he did leave the hay barn. He did leave the hay barn, Sandy. He did. He now works at the mattress place. He makes $20,000 a year more. But let me tell you. You're like, why do you still talk to him? I'm going to tell you why. Because how fucked up would it be if I just literally dropped him and was like, Kevin who? After he helped me. That's why. And I genuinely, when he's behaving, he's highly intelligent. But it's actually principle. It's principle. To your point, I can see, because we can't really be friends because this addiction, but let's just say hypothetically, I'm not a fixer of people, by the way. Let's say hypothetically that he was to get help and not, but I don't know, can you ever get over this? That's a pretty, it's like, I do feel deep sympathy for people that are food addicts, because imagine having an addiction to something that you have to have every day. So alcoholics can stop, but food addicts, you can't stop eating, right? So it's sort of the same thing with sex addiction, right? So, and I don't know I don't know what the therapy for sex addiction is. I'm guessing it's similar to all addictions, and there's an aspect of theory where it's hurtful to people. But I gotta tell you, I think if you're a narcissist and a sex addict, you don't give a shit if it hurts other people. You just want what you want. So I don't know that there is any help. I don't really think there is. I don't. But I could totally be friends with him if he wasn't a sex addict and didn't, wasn't. I'm not kidding you. The things that he says, and I watch porn, and I watch hardcore porn. You guys are like, wow, that really came from nowhere. But, so it's pretty hard to shock me. Basically, that's the only reason I have cable, because I could give a shit about anything else, except for Investigation Discovery. I do like that channel. Okay. My favorite part, I had a couple drinks, and I was at a retreat, and God, I can't remember, they start blending one into the next. And I said that to somebody said something, I said, yeah, kind of like porn, and she was like my age, and she was like, I've never watched porn. And I was like, I actually was really, but I'm from California, you guys. I think, we're like a different planet or something. I'm serious. Like, when I was growing up, everybody's parents grew weed in Mendocino, California. Everybody. That's just normal. We used our $1.50 a week allowance to get our lunch, 25-cent school lunches, for purple microdot acid. That's just what you did. I'm not shitting you. I'm like 12 years old. I'm not lying. That is just what people did. It's a totally different world. You're like, wait a second, I thought a different world meant like that, the parents weren't helicopter parents. Yeah, my parents definitely were helicopter parents. I think they were probably hoping I'd just die. I'm not sure. And I used to hitchhike everywhere. I hitchhiked everywhere. I don't know how I'm alive. Penny, you love the scrap box? I tried. I stuffed it full. Thank you. Let's see. Sherry. And then Amber's like, never watched porn. Amber, you look like a spicy little, like a little hot tamale. Amber's really sweet and cute and young. That's why. But I mean, and there's no judgment there, by the way. There's no judgment if people, I can understand. But I was thinking this, guys, let's really get frank about this. Let's just totally talk about this. I'm serious. I asked somebody this the other day. Who did I ask this? Who was I talking to that I would ask this question to? But it was someone that I really, God, who was I talking to? I was talking to Benjamin Levesey. I was talking to Benjamin Levesey, the CEO of Stitches, on the phone. And this is like a week ago. And so somehow we got on, just philosophy. And he was telling me about how, I want to say he lived in South Dakota. He said something South Dakota, but I know that Stitches, some of the stuff is in Texas, so I don't know. So let's just say South Dakota or Texas. So don't quote me on what state it was, but a more conservative state. And he said that he he decided him and some men were going to go on a men's march about gay marriage, but this is like, 15 or 20 years ago. And that people were really outraged. And then I said, I actually was thinking about this the other day, Benjamin, that I was thinking about vulgarity and how someone determines what's vulgar. Okay, I'm really dead serious. I'm really legitimately having a conversation with you where I was trying to figure out if there's two consenting adults, really what is vulgar and who's going to make that, who makes that judgment call. And so I think the people that are involved in it, because there have certainly been things. Okay, I'm not saying anything involving animals and ridiculous. It'll not be ridiculous. But let's just go with like foot fetishes. Like personally, if a guy wanted to like suck on my toes or something, I'd be totally out. I'm out. Okay? You're like, but you watch porn. Okay. My feet, let me just tell you, are actually really pretty. You're like, but your hands? No. God giveth, God taketh away. My feet are good. I'm just not into that. So for me, I don't like it. The thought of him wanting to do that is like icky, right? So I could never date somebody. That for me is just a line I'm just not into. Like there could be a zillion other things that like most of the population could think is really vulgar that I'm totally into, right? But for me and the consenting adult, my partner, husband, it's not. So that's what I find it really fast. I actually find this really fascinating. And did you know, so I'm reading because I've told you that this imam, it borderlines flirtation with me, and he is much older, and he, his wife's in burqa and his granddaughter's in burqa, but he's not vulgar at all towards me at all. I'm not want to say that, and it's not suggestive, but he does talk about sex, and I know that there's things that he talks about with me that he would never be able to talk about. It's more his philosophy and like his sex ed that he gives to like the people that come to him, because one of the things he does is like counseling, etc., to the community, right? So I was looking in the Quran, and basically it says, because I was looking like anal sex, I was just looking see what is taboo, right? Basically, what the gist of it is, whatever that woman wants, you're like, well, she doesn't want to wear a burqa, but she doesn't get to not do that. He has to do. So that's what made me start really thinking about it. And then I was looking even at the Torah. I'm like reading about I'm reading about the Jewish religion and the Muslim religion, and seeing what their ideas are. And both of those kind of are basically like what she wants, baby, is what you got to do. So then I was like, well, where is this coming from? Like all this judgment. And I think it's really unhealthy. I think it's really unhealthy. Not that people should do what they don't feel comfortable doing, but I don't think anybody should shame anyone. So let's say hypothetically, like I dated a guy and he had a foot fetish. I would say, I want you to know I'm totally not shaming you at all, because I think that's totally valid. If that turns you on, that's great. However, gotta be honest with you, like I'm just not into it, and it actually turns me off, like that you want to suck on my feet. You're like, wow, you're so polite. No, actually, I'm not. I probably say it a little more. It depends. One more thing before I look and see what you guys are saying. So this guy, his name is Richard, that Jenny's dating, had said that he's a very mature person, and he seems like really grounded. But he went out with a girl from Tinder, and he said that she was probably 150 pounds bigger than what the picture that she, so it was like an older picture, and it wasn't even that he would have minded that she was bigger, but that she misrepresented herself. That's what bothered him, and he felt manipulated. And he said, I actually, he goes, and he wasn't like, I'm saying I actually. He walked in, he looks at her and he says, I just want you to know that I feel manipulated and you completely misrepresented yourself. And he turned around and walked out. Okay, so then I took a poll in my house. I asked my husband, Jenny, and my son, who's 27, and we're all trying to think of what we would do. I would not have said anything, and I'm a pretty straightforward person, but because I wouldn't have wanted them to like kill themselves, right? Seriously, even though they know exactly what they did. I would have said, I can't have dinner with you, but I'll have a drink with you. And then I would have like had the drink, and I would have said, you know what, I just got to be honest with you, you're not my type, but I want to thank you for the drink. That's what I would have done. Because I wouldn't want to, body shaming is a terrible thing to do to somebody. It really is. It's a terrible thing to do. And especially with women in particular, because, there's women have so many body issues. It's, it's really saddening. And my son said he would have had dinner with the person. My husband said he would have had dinner with the person. And Jenny said basically what I said. But the guy did the right thing. He actually did the right answer, because that was manipulative. And people that are manipulative bank on the rest of us feeling bad for them or being too embarrassed to say anything. And that's pretty fucked up. So, in my opinion, he did do the right thing. However, I couldn't have done it. And I can be really, and it was actually, if you want to look at it, it is kind of a mean thing that she did. So, because I'm vicious. I am vicious and will throw down and get in a fist fight right now. And I'm telling you, I grow huge testicles when someone threatens me. And so I have no problem taking someone out. But there would be this part of me that had took pity on the person. So, anyway. But that's not the right thing to do. People that are manipulative need to be like called out. Anyway. And then Ms. Shelley is saying vulgarity is defined by society. If it's not society, nothing can be vulgar, right? For instance, villages who don't wear tops, it's not sexual to them because their societies are viewed as such. Plus, you get desensitized, you guys. Do you know how I don't even realize I do realize it when I'm in public saying the word fuck, but at home I say it a lot because, and my children don't swear. You're like, oh yes, they do. I'm sure that they do, but I've never heard my children slip ever. And I have, my mouth is pretty vulgar. I'm going to be honest with you. But you get, I use the C word. I realize that in America that seems to be a really horrible, horrendous word, but I mean, it's not in Australia. It's like a term of endearment. But seriously, and the words are just words. They're just words. They're just words. Like a word is a word. It doesn't, that's what this whole thing, this new, this politically correct stuff is very difficult for me, because if I say somebody's a dick, I don't literally picture a penis, right? So if I say the word retarded, I don't see a person with Down syndrome. It's just a word. It's just a word. Or I remember there was a test in my, in English, for you to be able to graduate. In my undergraduate, I'm sure everybody knows that they have this, it was like a test that every single person had to do at the end of English 1B or whatever. And our teacher made this thing where you had to read these few passages and determine what era each book was written in, and it wasn't it was the 1800s. It was 1930, 1940, and 1950. So it was not that. And someone called they said, we're talking about cigarettes, and they called it a fag. And I knew that one was from the 50s. Let's just say, I don't remember what it was, the 50s or 40s. I think it was the 40s actually. The 40s. I said the 40s, and that's how I knew, right? And so, like, if someone, I mean, it's an offensive word now because we've made it offensive. Society's made it offensive. But to me, it's just, you know, it's not a term I ever used, really, but it's just a word that meant something else once, or the term gay or whatever. It's just a word. And so, like, I know a lot of people in my generation have always felt the same way, but then you're shamed. You are shamed. You're fully shamed. Just like with sex, you're fully shamed. That you say the word and you instantly feel like you're just like a piece of shit. Like, really, I'm serious. And I mean, I've even felt that. And so that's the one thing, like, seriously, in my bedroom in particular, there is no shame. Like with my husband, like, the one thing is there can never be shame between two people, or you can't have intimacy, right? You just can't. If you have to worry about somebody, like, disapproving of you or looking at you and going, it's such a disappointment. Like, disappointment is that like, ew. And also, our tastes change. Like, I was relatively, like, pretty, you know, I wasn't as near as frisky when I was younger as I am now, but I'm in a, you know, 26-year relationship with somebody who I am head over heels in love with. So you, like, grow together, and then you get, you know, you hope you do, right? Or you don't, and then you know, I can't even tell you how many women in my age group, and it really does break my heart. That, you know, husbands have left them, you know, and they're like, I thought we were building a life together. I thought that this whole time he was working and I was taking care of the kids so that we could retire together. But he's retiring with his secretary, right? I mean, this is not an unusual story for me. I hear it a lot. A lot. And it does break my heart. I have a whole philosophy about that, you guys. I really do. And it's pretty heavy. No shame equals awesome. That's all. Thank you. You know what? I don't know a little. I think more of us have to be. I'm dead serious. Like, you guys, and especially, like, I remember, it doesn't matter what the shame is over. If, you know, and if people like are not, like, you know, I'm in menopause, I understand. So if people are not, you know, if they're really, you know, asexual, it doesn't matter. That shame, even over anything, is a bad thing. It's a bad thing. It just is. It just makes people feel bad. But I've realized that there's hierarchies in everything, like even veganism, right? So, you know, I mean, this whole thing, like the whole post I made about the person who wanted to tell me they were a vegan and ask me how I took care of my animals, and, you know, went to stay at my Airbnb, and I posted it on Facebook, and there are a lot of people got really, of course, vegans got really offended, like I was trying to say that I hate vegans. It was like, that's not what I was saying. It was totally different. But what was funny is, you guys, if you haven't watched Ellen DeGeneres, is it called Relatable? She has this, she just did another stand-up thing. I don't know how old it is. But it's called Relatable, and the one thing she does in there is she says, at some point she says, you know, and because I'm a vegan, I got instantly irritated. Because I really think Ellen DeGeneres is hilarious, and I love her expressions, and I don't watch her show. I'm not like a fan, but I do think that she's brilliant. I do think she's brilliant. And I appreciate her. Anyway, so when she said that, I almost turned off the television. Because I'm like, you know what? I'm so sick of, like, people not liking, you know, people like demonizing people that eat meat and people that, you know, wear wool, and I'm just so sick of it, right? And then, like, I almost, and right before I went to turn it off, she was like, and I was just kidding about the vegan thing. I'm not a vegan. But there are, so like one vegan will say, well, I don't wear, you know, not only do I not eat meat, but then I make sure I don't have any whey in anything, and then I don't, you know, wear anything leather, and I don't, and then the other one's like, oh, well, you know, I still wear leather, because, and they're like, oh, and the one's looking down on the one that wears, it's just like, I mean, people are naturally, there's just this, they want to be in a hierarchy, and it's the way it is, and they want to look down in shame, and it's really sad, because it really hurts humanity, especially because I think a lot of us, most of us actually are sensitive, and nobody wants to feel less than. Didn't we have to suffer through that in high school? I mean, seriously? Okay. And then Sharon goes, that vegan thing was nuts. That vegan thing was nuts. Yeah, so the whole point is that someone wanted to stay, and so in Airbnbs, not often, but there are some people that have them that you have to approve the person. You have to approve the person. Mine isn't that. You don't have to approve it. If the person is a person that's already stayed with other people and has a rating, they can automatically book with me. Anyhow, so this person was one of those people that could automatically book, but she wrote me, like, as a pitch, kind of like a pitch, like, hey, you know, I'm an animal lover. I'm a vegan. I don't serve food here. I don't give a fuck that you're a vegan. I don't care. Actually, now you just made me nervous. You made me nervous because this is a working farm. This isn't like goat yoga. Okay? It's not. So, like, what if one of my chickens is dead and you walk by and you think that I've somehow, or I don't know how many of you have geese and have those little plastic ponds you buy from Petco, but I do. I don't have ponds. I have little plastic ponds, and that's where my geese go. We scrub them out. 2 seconds later, after they've been filled with fresh water, they look like I haven't cleaned them in 15 years. I'm serious. And I'm always terrified someone's gonna, and my chickens, now they're just starting to they're getting their feathers, they're almost all in it, and those big fat Cornish crosses that are the meat chickens, they're so fat, they're little, all of their down's gone now, and their feathers aren't covering all of their skin because they're giant. They weigh like 3 pounds. And they're like 5 weeks old. So someone was like, why don't they have any feathers? I was like, because they're babies. I was like, they have down. And then the down falls out. It's not abuse and lice. They're babies. Oh. So you don't want people that, do you see my point? Everybody that has a farm knows exactly what I'm saying. You don't know what's going to happen. Right? So anyway, she writes, I'm a vegan. But then when the part that really got me, it wasn't the vegan part. I have vegan friends. All I say to them is, it's such a pain in the ass to go with you anywhere to eat. Because I can't order for like 10 minutes before the waiter goes through every single thing that it doesn't have in it that's okay for you. Anyway, the part that bothered me was the part where she's like, I see that your farm's named Namaste. You must take great care of your animals. Can you tell me a little bit about it? Okay, you're a city person. How on earth? I don't give a shit if I gave you a running dissertation, a 15-page dissertation, a 100-page dissertation. You won't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So no, actually, I can't. I can't tell you more about how I take care of my animals because you wouldn't understand. Why doesn't a molecular or a nuclear physicist tell me about how they come up with their formulas? It's not relevant. I wouldn't understand how they come up with their formulas. I almost said molecular biology, but I would understand that. So I was like, abort. Okay, let me look. Okay. Let me see. And then Jen Eddington says, just need to share because I live on a small island at the bottom of the world. It was an exciting week as Martha Stewart is on vacation here and has been very accommodating with She's being very accommodating. I've heard, if you ever get to talk to her, you should ask her. I heard that she won't let her Black Welsh Mountain sheep outside because she doesn't want them to fade. I've heard that many times, which of course means it's true, right? Just like Richard Gere and the hamsters. You're like, okay, easy there. And then, actually, Zone for Gardener, she says, veganism annoys me, even their vegetables aren't vegan. That's actually funny. Because that's actually very interesting that you say that. Because they're probably using animal fertilizer. Or they're using chemical fertilizer, right? So, I don't know, in organic gardening, can you use manure from animals that aren't organic? I don't think you can. That have had injections. And let me just tell you, not vaccinating your animals, and even another thing. Who wouldn't vaccinate? When people say, are your animals organic? I'm like, okay, just to let you know, I am not double negative, sorry about that. There is no way that I would not give my ruminants like C and DT. Who wouldn't do that? Like I want them to die of bloat? Like you guys, Clostridium perfringens is a killer, and it's like that. Like it kills so fast. Like there's no way that I would not vaccinate my babies, especially. And then, okay, so I want to catch up here, okay, because this is important, okay. Vegans, mom shamers, and vegan mom shamers should just stay home. The thing is this is what I say. I have no problem. I really honestly do have. I mean, I live in California. Of course I have vegan friends. You're like, you don't have any friends, be honest. But I do say, you know what, if you're going to take a stand on something, why do you get to take a partial stand? Like, it's okay, you don't want to wear leather, okay. I get it, you don't want to eat meat. But don't go and support restaurants and stores that sell these things. That's taking a stand. But that's also very inconveniencing to you, so you won't do it. Or have friends that wear leather and eat meat, but you won't do it because it's inconvenient and it interferes with your lattes. That's the way I feel. It's like, it's everybody, you know, people, I do respect way more. I mean, okay, I guess you could say then the person's just a fanatic, right? Like if a person's like, not only am I a vegan, but I won't support a store, I won't go into a store, and I won't go to a restaurant that serves anything that's meat, then they would be considered a fanatic. But however, I think that that's making a bigger difference, because when you want to hit people, you hit them in the pocketbook, right? So them just simply not eating meat it's not really making that big of a dent in our industry, in, you know, the meat industry, not our industry because I don't raise meat animals. But if you then boycotted meat and every facility that ever sold it and every restaurant that sold it, you, especially in California, you might be able to make a difference. You actually might. In Los Angeles or something. But I always go back to, didn't you breastfeed? Animal protein's necessary, my friend. We don't have I'm going to go on about the functional cecum. You're like, stop it. We're hindgut digesters. Omnivores and carnivores, hindgut digesters. Okay, and then Barbara's saying waterfowl are disgusting. They are. You change their water 10 times a day. And she raises meat birds too, and they are completely wet. I'm saying, I know, they have so much body, they can't grow feathers fast enough to cover them. And by the time they're ready to, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this word, I don't slaughter them, don't freak out, but I sell them to my Muslim guy. And that's the other thing. So like, you can't pass judgment against people that eat meat also, because that's part of people's culture. My favorite thing about, I got to tell you, about when Ibrahim comes, is he always wants to kill my black sheep. He's like, I love that one. I love that one. Could we have that one? I'm like, but you love it. You want to kill it. It'll never be here again. He's like, I know, but I want to eat that one. I tell him I find it so fascinating that you love it, but you're going to kill it. Love is just something different to me. Like, I would want to continue looking at it every time I came here. I'm like, don't love me, okay? Happy New Year, Mary Dillon. And then Ms. Riddle says, I always vaccinate our Krias. And then Jen Eddington says, she's probably true, she's on a luxury lot with 10 friends. I didn't even know she had 10 friends. And then Sherry's saying, how about cars too? Leather seats, bam. And you know what? The alternative is plastics. It's PET. You know, polyester basically is PET. And then Diana says, she vaccinate. You have to, you know, the animals, it's not fair to ruminants, especially with bloat. Oh, someone asked me how I know when my chickens are pregnant. Sandy, that's hilarious. Worm tea is a good fertilizer. Does worm crap count as animal? I think it does. Worms would totally be, because it's protein meat. Yes, worms would totally count. Are you kidding? You know why I know that? Because reptiles. Think mealworms. That's where they get their protein. Well, if you're like Natalie. Not the ones in the wild. Duh. Okay, but no, seriously, I'm not down on vegans at all. I'm really not. It sounds like I am. You know what happens though when you feel like you're being like I'm on the defensive now, because when you feel like you're not approved of because you raise wool and like and they're looking down on you because you eat meat. I can't eat my animals though, and I know, and I actually that was a hard thing for me at first because when I first became an animal scientist and I was going to school, Cal Poly in animal science, that it's pretty much beat into your head that there's like gentleman farmers and then there's like real farmers and real ranchers, and real ranchers like you cull heavily, and if you don't cull you're just a pussy, and if you don't eat your animals you're a pussy. So I was like, you know what, like, people think I don't look like a farmer. I'm gonna like, and so this is no shit. So what I do is I would, the way I was taught to raise my animals, I culled really heavily, where almost, you know, I still do this where most of the boys, there's only a few boys that will stay here because I won't castrate them. I won't. So why won't you castrate them? Because I have enough females to make up for it. So if I had such a huge, like if I had 1 year 200 males, you know, and then I wouldn't have any more wool, right? Because my older animals don't produce as much wool. Okay, maybe I would, but that hasn't happened. Knock wood. Anyhow, so but I noticed that you know, wethers make amazing fiber because, you know, they're weathered. They don't have testosterone, and so they can have really consistent fleece and last way longer than a female. You know, her fleece starts, you know, falling apart, you know, her second year when she gets pregnant, and then she nurses, and then it's blown, right? So really it's just the first year that they're good. They're in production. The breeding male rams, their fleece smells terrible because they're in production, and really the best thing would be to have a flock of wethers. But I was like, every year was just not even waiting for their first fleeces. I was just getting rid of all of the boys. And then I would run out of fleece, and I was thinking, wow, that's such a bummer. And then I remember one day, and it was years, it took me years to kind of figure this out. I'm like, wait a minute, whoa. Wethers make amazing fleece. Why do I not have, like, I understand for meat animals, you get rid of them because that's your product. You have to get rid of them before a certain age, or they're not lamb anymore. They're mutton. But I raised something, I mean, I'm not kidding you, like a light bulb. Then at that point I was like, now you must be pretty stupid because it took you a while to figure this out, right? But my flock at that point was up high enough where then I can, you know, but I do wait for their first fleece. I don't get rid of very many sheep before they're free. It's very rare. It's very rare that I will get rid of a sheep before I get its first fleece. And its first fleece is at 4 to 6 months. And then, let's see. Process the meat birds. By the time the birds are ready to harvest, I'm ready for them to be gone. I know. They are eating machines. They're pigs. They are pigs. I'm going through 40 pounds. I'm going through 40 pounds of 24% chick mash every 5 days. Every 4 to 5 days. 4 days? Probably 4.5 days. And then Casey Shaw says, I came in late, I eat meat, but I try not to overly consume. Respect the life, don't waste the meat. Good job. I'm going to try to find sources that have a good life. Yes. Grazed in the field. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't do that. And then Sherry McGraw says, yes, insect products are banned on vegan diet. Deanna says, a friend won't knit my alpaca yarns because she thinks sharing them is abusive. She will knit synthetics. We'll tell her that she's also contributing to the microplastics that are killing killing a lot of animals, sea animals in particular. You have to cull no matter how many you have, just because we're working to improve our flock, right? Yeah, Barbara, but the problem is we don't have any. So if we cull, to be honest with you, Teaswaters and Wensleydales, there's hardly any, because especially we don't have semen right now. So unless somebody that I know has gotten some, but because of the Schmallenberg, we haven't had any. So anyway, we can't. And most people, let's be honest, Barbara, how many people do you know that really do cull? A lot of people cull by selling the animal intact because, you know, the ewes. They're culling them out of their flock, but they're still going back into the gene pool. So culling, you know, I actually kind of call bullshit on that. For the meat people, I wouldn't. I actually 1,000% meat people cull because they're eating them. So it's going. I mean, it literally is. It's part of like them having to, you know, make their money back, right? But wool people, I think they pretend to cull, because culling means literally killing. So if it's not being killed, it's not being culled. And you know, a lot of people, you know, especially gentlemen farmers or people that have, you know, flocks of like 20 or 30 or 40, it's hard for them, you know. But once you start getting up into the many hundreds, you're like, you can't wait. I mean, you're just like, all you think about is, if I get rid of 10, there's a bale of hay a day. That's how I look at it. You're like, why are you on your phone? I'm going to show you why. Don't be mad. Don't be mad, baby. I gotcha. You're like, don't say that. You're weird. Okay, I have to, like, because I have to text my daughter something. Oh, my God. Okay. You guys, I wish someday we'll have to have, like, not X-rated, but it'll be, you're like, what are you going to do, strip? No. Oh, well, there's an idea. Bring the, hang on. I'm writing my daughter really quick. I don't know what I was just saying. I can't even remember. Oh, yeah, and I will read you goodnight stories to some of the things. I wouldn't read all of them, believe me. But I could read you some of the stuff that Kevin said, but it would have to be like just between you and me, because it's pretty nasty. He actually just wrote me, again, just now I have like a thing from him. Kevin Hay, right there. You're like, Kevin Hay. He wrote me a bunch of vulgar stuff, which I responded to him. I said, you have unifocus. Did you have a good New Year? He said, I did indeed. Not unifocus. He said, just trying to dangle a carrot. Do you want a bite? So his vulgarity, he considers it dangling a carrot. You guys, I'm telling you. But everything I write is like that. It's like, have a good New Year? Anyway, I don't know. It's just, I don't even know what to say. I'm going to show you what's on my needles. I don't have my papers, you guys. My handwriting's so bad, I would write it for you. I would. Okay, hang on, let me read. I love when you guys are here in chat. It makes me not feel alone. You're like, because you're not alone. And then Miss Shelley's saying, I feel like choosing to abandon animal products is choosing to live a synthetic life. I know. And that's the other thing. The animals are already here. This is the part I really want people to know, and I am not bagging on. Once again, I don't want, because I don't want to make people feel defensive about, you know, their choices in food, because we're all picky about what we eat, and it just, you know, just because I eat meat doesn't mean that I'm not picky, right? It just means that I have a different choice than this other person. But I would like people to be educated about what the alternative is. And the fact of the matter is that there's no turning these animals loose in the wild. There's just not. I mean, can you imagine turning meat chickens out? The chickens, I mean, I'm telling you, we have selectively bred them. And so, like I think there's been some conflation in the world about what GMO is and what selective breeding is. So GMO is like modifying the genes, right? This is not done through natural mechanisms, right? Selective breeding is also fucking with the genes, but we're doing it by selecting them. But why do you think we have animals that look like a Dalmatian or that look like a Great Dane? That's what we did. We selectively bred. So when we have these animals, things like that, you know, these cows that can milk, I don't know, somebody on a dairy farm can tell me what the like, you know, a Jersey or a Guernsey or something can, or a Holstein can milk in a day. Like unbelievable amounts of milk. Like they have to be milked, right? Because they'll get mastitis. But we've selectively bred them, and they actually need our care. You know, the sheep that we've bred now, they don't shed, so they need to be shorn. It's just the facts. Like, what do we do? We're past the point. This argument needed to happen a couple hundred years ago before we started like really honing in on selective breeding and understanding the concept, right? It's over now. What we need to do is advocate for ethical, I mean, truly, and this is the thing, and I know that people advocate for it, but we have to, and government is not the answer. The answer is, when you find people that don't take care of their animals, you don't support them at all, and that deserves shame. That deserves shame. I don't believe in shame except for that, like abuse. That deserves complete and utter shame. Okay. And then Gail says, if it has a name, I can't eat it. Yeah. I get you on that one. And then each one gets about 50 pounds by the time it's processed, or Barbara's talking about the amount. I wonder what that is. Okay, yeah, sending your kids to market is culling, gentlemen, farming, I guess, is a flock is small. Yeah, I mean, it's sending them to market, unless someone buys them and puts them back. But I mean, like, I don't have any judgment. I'm just saying that, you know, us as wool growers, mine actually, when I cull, I mean, nothing of mine goes to market. Nothing. I very rarely sell a sheep to somebody who I rarely will sell a sheep to anyone except to my Muslim guy. and then it's immediately, it doesn't go anywhere. It's processed right here. And so I guess the argument could be, why wouldn't you sell your sheep to? I would sell my Teeswater. There's so few Teeswaters and Wensleydales that I would only sell them to people that I knew and liked, with the assurance that they wouldn't let them out of their, which of course you can't. I mean, how do you enforce that? But I mean, it's very rare that I'll sell one. I just really, because I don't, why would I give someone competition? Why would I offer a competition against myself and my own market? And I don't believe, like, I don't look at other people as competition. I actually have a really good philosophy on business, where if I lose my business and people in my business to somebody else, that's my problem and that's my fault. But I don't actively give what I make and what, how I make it away so that other people can do it. I mean, there are ways I protect my business. One of them is, that. And then the other is, trying to be, have good policies and, being culpable and sorry for when I do stupid shit, like when I didn't send people's packages out because it was stuck between a knitting pattern. I'm sorry, you guys, for those of you who I did that to. They didn't get their packages for like 3 weeks. People are like, where's my shit? And I'm like, what shit? I sent it. They're like, actually you didn't. And then I look in the labels and I look like online to see the tracking, and I didn't send it. And I mean, it says label printed, and I'm like, shit, now I like paid all that money for those labels. Where are those labels? I just came out here and looked right between the knitting pattern, all these labels. I was like, oh my God, so embarrassed. Anyway, okay. And then Barb is saying that she didn't realize that the gene pool in Teeswater's one. Yeah, I mean, people just don't. They just, I don't know. Okay, was I going to say something? I want my daughter to bring, because okay, first of all, I'm going to give this away today. I have the yarn. I promised I was going to get away. This is glazed yarn. So glazing, you guys, is really difficult. My hair, okay, first of all, my hair is falling out. I said that. Jenny's falls out too. She gets bald spots. I don't know if you guys know people. I have 2 friends that get bald spots where their hair falls out, and I think it's from nerves or something. I don't know. My hair falls out from stress, but it falls out, thankfully, like uniformly. You're like, I don't know if that's really a good thing, but I have, like, it's right now, it's got a ton of static. It's going to make me crazy. I'm going to have to put water on it. It's making me crazy. My hair is very staticky because it's dry in Temecula, even though it just rained. But it's dry. Oh my God, it's so staticky. It's making me crazy. It's sticking to my face. It's making me feel like I'm being invaded. Wait a second. I'm getting back on the yarn thing. Okay, this I want to, you guys, it's going to look like shit because it's going through the internet. Don't blame me. It's actually really pretty. Don't judge. Judge. It's glazed. So glazing is basically over dyeing, but when you glaze, the over dye, so you can over dye something in the acid dyes, the kind of dyes that we use on protein fibers, are translucent. It doesn't mean you can't cover up something, especially if you didn't bring it to saturation. So you can, like, if I make something light blue, it'll be super easy to cover up. Make it another color. But when you glaze, you want to be able to see the color underneath. So this is glazed. So it takes many layers. Like it can take like 20 layers. So to glaze something, sometimes you can only use superwash because the felting occurs with changes of temperature and handling, and it wouldn't be able to tolerate what it takes to glaze. That's not always true, because sometimes glazing, especially if you're a commercial yarn company, they can get above 212 degrees, which is the upper limit for the dyes to strike, because they can use pressure. We don't have things under pressure. So anyway, so there's these. It looks. I just looked at it online. It looks like shit. It doesn't look like shit in real life. It's actually really pretty. And so when you dye a yarn, this is called dyed. Look at this, dyed, and it's not. Is it a cross? It's not a cross. Oh my God, it's so good. So dyed across is this way. Like if I had one color here, one color here, one color here, one color here. This is dyed around, which I actually like better. So it's one color here, another color here, and another color here, right? And I like the way dyed around. Knits better. But knitting, some people hate knitting. It ends up to be variegated. Some people hate knitting variegated yarns because it's super pretty. Because variegated yarns, they will color pool. But the answer is you have to understand color pooling. That's Laura Bryant has a book on pooling, and or you just make sure that you knit. Another thing you can do, you have to look at her book. But then, if you worry about them not being hand-dyed yarns not being all even, you know, like, because they're not completely symmetrical. Then you have a bunch of working yarns at once, and you alternate so that they're all intermingled, instead of like, you know, you use one skein here, you use another skein here, use another skein here, you use another skein here. So if there's any inconsistency in the pattern, but there's a lot of yarns here. There is. So this is going to be. This is superwash and merino, very high quality, ultra fine, and I want to say it's like 400 yards a skein, and there is 5 of them. So I'm giving this away, the whole thing, to one person. It looks really pretty. Look at. Do you want to smell it? Like, I put on my favorite perfume. I think I've already told you is I love Oscar de la Renta, but I've been wearing Armani. No, Versace. You're like, get your designer straight. Versace, the Dreamer. It's unisex. You're like, we don't care. I know. I'm just informing. Okay, my daughter's not bringing what I need her to bring, but I'm gonna show you. Here it is. What's on my needles? I could just stick needles in my eye as like my transition, but then I wouldn't be able to see you. Like, you're so stupid. Don't listen to me, you guys. I'm fucking exhausted. My husband and I tried one on last night. It was so much fun. And all it does is make me want more, though. My poor husband. You guys, and my husband is so... Trishy spins! Oh my god! I'm sorry. You guys know I love my girl Trish. Trishy, I sent you that yarn. I sent her, because both her and Kristen, I printed your label. I just didn't send it out yet. You guys, the yarn that I have is so good. Okay, you guys, are you ready for what I'm knitting? It's on my needles. My daughter wanted a, hang on, Italian Greyhound. She wanted an Italian Greyhound for Christmas, but she really didn't want an Italian Greyhound. What she wanted was a lizard. I said, Jade, I can do an Italian Greyhound, but I just can't have a lizard. I'm sorry. I just can't. They smell weird and they're gross. I just don't want one. And when you're not taking care of it, I'm going to have to take care of it, and I don't want to take care of it. But a lizard's like $100, and an Italian Greyhound's like $1,000. I only have one daughter left. So my husband and I go, Sean, let's go to the lizard store. There's a reptile store. There's many reptile stores. I didn't realize it was that big of a thing, because let me tell you, there's not one or two in Temecula. There's many. We go to a lizard store, and I walk in, and I start to gag. I'm not kidding. The sight of the snakes and the sight of the lizards and the smell of the store and the humidity and the heat lamps and the whole like rotting vegetable fruits and the bugs and the mealworms and and let me tell you, you're talking about somebody who has, like, I'll never forget, like, they did the surgery on one of the racehorses' throats for the God, I can't remember what it is, when their flap keeps closing and they can't breathe. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And the pus, and I could do that. I'm telling you, this was making me gag. And then this guy brings out this most beautiful lizard that's like this big, and it's like citrus yellow, and it has orange on its eyes, and then it has this gray throat, and I'm like, oh my god, he's so color coordinated. Like, seriously, I was like, this, and it was and it was, and it's just like a really common one. It's a bearded dragon. I am so head over heels in love with this lizard. I was like, I love this lizard. I want this lizard. Like, I said, not only do I want this lizard, we are buying this lizard. So we bought this lizard. I go and I watch lizard TV. I go in her room and I just hang out and watch this lizard. And I go find worms for him, and I take chopsticks and I put them on chopstick, and then I hold them in there and I feed him, and then I take blueberries, and I'm not kidding you. I'm a constant. This is gonna be like my meat chickens, because I am so like into feeding and like hanging out with this lizard. So I'm knitting him a sweater. I know you're like, what about your Igawa from Junko Akimoto? Well, don't worry, but I had to knit the hat. You guys, I ripped that. Oh, I didn't tell you. The sweater pattern wasn't my problem. I ripped it out 12 times. The master knitter started it too and ripped it out. It wasn't this whole time. You guys, we'll talk about it next week, because I want to go party. But I'm going to show you the sweater that I'm knitting for my lizard. It's my lizard now. I'm grandma. I'm grandma to a lizard. I'm so in love with this lizard. Wait, I feel like I'm caught on something. Okay, never mind. You guys are like, are you drunk? Not yet. I will be in about an hour. Okay, I have to make the pattern myself, you guys. There's no lizard sweater patterns. I looked. If you look up lizard sweater, they're only going to show you how to make a gecko. Okay, so I've just started it. Here's the cowl neck. Here's where its little legs go. Right in there, right in there. Little body go right in there, right in there. But I'm actually like tailoring it. So it's like a little, its head, like the big, so I can get it over its big fat little, because it like gets those things, because it's bearded, so they flop out, you know, when it gets like excited or whatever, it like flunks its little flunkers out. So it's got to get it over its head, which is like shaped like a spear. And then it's got to go in a little bit, so I had to like decrease, then I had to increase, then I had to make the legs. Now I'm going to have to decrease again, because he's got like a little waist. No, right behind his arms is little. And then he goes out. And then he comes down. So anyway, it will be finished by next week. You're like, no, it will be. I have only ripped this one out twice. That's a lie, once. I didn't like the yarn. I sent Kristen this yarn, and she loved it. It dyes amazingly well. It's a single though, and it's pretty fine. I want to say it's like a fingering. Single, and the thing that I don't like about single yarns, when we make singles as hand spinners, they have they have twist still. This does look like it has twist, but it's even, but you know, it's splitty, because it's not really, it's basically roving is what it is. So I don't like that about it. I do like that it's superwash so that it won't felt, because if it was just like roving yarn felts like you look at it and it felts. So if you make something with the roving yarn, like you make those big blankets they arm knit with, those would last you like 2.5 seconds. You'd lay them on 4 times and it'd be like big pills all over it, like little, you know, those like balls, like sweater balls, you know, those, you know, like whatever. You'll pill it. It would pill because doesn't have any twist in it. It's gonna felt. Anyway, I'm a dedicated. That's so funny, because I actually didn't think of it. I didn't think of it like I was like being a grandma, but I'm knitting it a sweater because because they're cold-blooded. And I'm like, it's air conditioned in our house, and he's got his heat lamp. You're not supposed to keep their heat lamps on, all of them 24. I mean, that's what I was told. Like the UV lamps only like half the day, and give them a break, you know, a little break, because in the desert, you know, I guess they're from Australia, and so I thought, well, I could just make it this little sweater. I did a really nice job. I'm going to tell you right now, I really did. I already sewed in my ends because I didn't want to show you something that looked really bad. I want it to look neat and tidy, but anyway. Oh, but what I was doing, so in this like knitting, because I've been knitting, you know, a lot. And so I've been noticing that when I start getting sloppy, and I start, when I'm picking, when I'm continental knitting, sometimes I'll just start getting lazy, and I will pull as I put it in and pick. I'll pull out like that, and then my gauge gets really big and bad. And so I've been really concentrating on not doing that. So when I start to feel myself do that, I stop. Do you guys know what I'm saying? Please say you do. It would be the equivalent of, instead of, you know how some people, I was talking to Trish about that, some people when they throw, they pull. It'd be like the equivalent of throwing it a loop way around it and like leaving it just sagging and then knitting it. That's the equivalent of what I'm talking about, what I do when I start getting tired. I pick and pull instead of, you know, keeping it close. And then it makes your gauge just start getting exponentially larger. Not exponentially, that was a lie for those mathematicians out there. Okay. I'm doing fittings as I go, which pulled it off the needles once, which really pissed me off. That was the one I ripped out. I'm going to bring the knitting, I'm going to put it on the lizard and bring the lizard with the lizard sweater. I'm going to go like this. See my lizard sweater on my lizard? And I'm putting a decoration on the back of it that's probably a little bit sketchy, but I'm going to do it anyway. You're like, is it a, no, it's nothing like, no, like really bad symbol from history. It's not like Hitlerish, but it's, and then, oh, you've done the same thing. You have, because that makes me feel better. And then Ms. Dahlia notes, yes. Okay, you guys, so you have to, so I'm going to have a ton of yarn for sale. Oh, so who am I gonna, wait, I gotta pick someone. No, Trishy's gonna pick someone. Trishy, like, let me write in here, Trishy. I like Trishy to do it better because then I don't, because then it makes me feel like I don't want anyone to think that I've had bias. And I do love vegans, I'm just letting you know. I just felt threatened. My hair is really sticking to my face and I hate it. The swizzle on my lizzle. The swizzle on my lizzle. That's like so like Snoop Dogg. Yeah, so what, you know what I think is funny? What if like suddenly my career became knitting bearded dragons? Never, guys. Never. It's not hard to make patterns though. I mean, obvious, you guys are like, don't minimize it. Yes, if you have a lot of different stitches and you have a lot of, but I mean, it's just, I don't have, obviously, programs for making patterns, but, like, you look at something similar, like a dog sweater, and then you say, oh, well, this dog is giant, and this lizard is small, so why don't I just do some calculations and make it smaller, or why don't I, if I don't want to make the calculations, why don't I just look at it and guess about? And then bam, there you are. And then as you go, you kind of just see, I don't know, and this is not like something, okay, if it was like this giant project, like I was making this lace shawl or something that, you know, if I was putting all this time into it, I had to have a lifeline and everything, totally different. You can knit this in 15 minutes. 15. On a knitting machine. I'm just kidding. I knit it myself, but I'm saying 15 minutes on a knitting machine. I mean, I'm 3 minutes on a knitting machine, 15 minutes by hand. Snoop Dogg speak, baby. I am going to put him in his sweater. He's so beautiful, you guys. I'm not kidding you. Lizards, vegans, farmers, we're all just trying to live our best lives. That's live our best life. You're right! Amber, there's no shame. Sex addicts, not even any shame. Just don't try and suck my toes. Because I'm not into it, baby. I am not into it. I'm not. Okay, Trishy, can you do me a favor and pick somebody? She's just going to go, you know what she's probably going to do? She's going to scroll up and she's going to go like that and just pick someone. It's not like she's picking favorites. She's going to randomly pick someone. Because Trishy, let me just tell you, I don't know if you guys know Trishy, but her and Kristen, they're like, why did you call her Christian? No, Kristen, because I have a speech impediment. Kristen are really, Kristen the other day wanted to talk to me and I was like, she's like, do you have a minute to talk? That's like, I want to quit, which I almost said, no, actually I don't. So that she could never quit. No, but that's not what she wanted. Because I can't, she can't. She can't. I was so paranoid, I didn't tell her that. But I was really paranoid. Because working for me has its challenges. Like, you tell me something 10 minutes ago, and then I say, why didn't you tell me that? And she's like, I did 10 minutes ago. And you said, okay. Okay, no, wait, don't go yet unless you want yarn, because she's picking someone. It could be you. Please don't go. Oh, wait, did you get it? Did she get it? Oh, she got it. I'm sorry. Okay, could you do me a favor? Okay, wait. Okay, I need your address. Okay, Carly. Carly will tell other people, because I have to tell you, I even said to my husband this morning, I go like this, because I wanted to get naked with I told you, all I ever want to do is get naked with my husband. And I said, I really want to get naked with you, but I'm going to go out and I'm going to do my thing, babe. I'm going to do my thing, my vlog. And I said, but I don't think anybody really gives a shit whether I show up or not. And he's like, people care. And I said, yeah, I don't know. So anyway, when you guys care, it makes me feel better, because obviously I don't want to just be wasting your time. You're like, you are wasting our time, but we kind of like it. Anyway, okay, you guys. So I need her address, and I'm going to give away something every week. You guys are like, wow, you're desperate. Yeah, I am. I'm giving away, every week. So get ready, you guys. I will see you next week, same time, same place. And I'm going to have this lizard in this damn sweater. If it kills me, if I have to kill the lizard. Okay, bye, you guys. Thank you so much. Blessings, and have a happy new year. And have a great day. And I will see you.